on my laptop.
We're going live. Screw it, we'll do it live. I think Bill O'Reilly did that one time.
Yeah, he did.
I think Vince McMahon may have also done that one time. But, Vince McMahon's the greatest. So,
We need Roger Penske to do that.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into NASCAR by the Numbers. Here we are this week. Going to be a fun episode, a little bit different topic this week. Obviously, we've kind of getting in the swing of things. This is probably I think this might be our 7th or 8th episode, maybe even more. I'm not 100% sure. It's kind of hard to keep up with the weeks at this point. So Armany, on this wonderful Thursday, me and you both have tomorrow off. I'll tell my reason in a minute. But how are you on this Thursday before we kick off some NASCAR talk?
I've been bored. I'm going to the gym after this, and please be delighted by the completely accurate math you see on the screen.
Yes. So Armany's name for tonight is 24 plus 48 equals 74. Now, if you're good at math, you realize that actually equals 72. But if you are me and him from one evening, we thought it was 74. We were dead set on it. We were convinced. We would have argued in that moment that 48 plus 24 is 74.
Oh, I did.
We argued. I think we were both like, dude, I'm telling you. This is it. My nephew's in here. Matt's in here, our Canadian friend.
This is why we do NASCAR, not math.
Exactly.
Even though we got to worry about is the numbers on the side of the door.
Which is scary that the numbers is still a part of this whole deal. But, yeah, I'm doing all right. I still hate going to the gym in the mornings, but I'm changing up my routine a little bit. It's started a little bit this morning and into the next couple of days. I'm off tomorrow. I'm traveling to Fayetteville for the Carolina Sprint Tour. I do some social media work for them. So we've got back-to-back nights, season opener, Fayetteville Motor Speedway in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I've never been to Fayetteville, so that'll be fun. Friday night and Saturday night. And it's going to be fun to go there and take some pictures of some sprint cars and lay back and relax a little bit. So that'll be fun. Got to travel about 4 hours to get there tomorrow. So it'll all be cool. But, other than that, my day's been solid besides getting completely thrown under the bus about a tweet I sent out a year ago about coronavirus, where I guess it was taken out of context, which most things I tweet. I'm not great at providing context sometimes. My buddy Rookie is in here. His name's Woody. We call him Rookie because he's an idiot. And one day we're going to put yellow stripes on his work truck. But, today I pretty much get thrown under the bus randomly about a tweet I sent out a year ago about coronavirus, just saying, listen, people shouldn't lose their minds when there's a 99% chance you're going to survive. And now this is when coronavirus, I think this was, again, the same day that it got declared a pandemic from a year ago. So mind you, we didn't know there was going to be 600,000 people that died. We didn't know how quickly it was going to spread. We didn't know the world was going to shut down. And so this was coming from, again, a place a year ago where me, like most people, had no clue what we were about to deal with. And it was, again, taken out of I've respected coronavirus since it came out. It doesn't even call it coronavirus anymore. It's COVID. But these times I don't wear a mask while I'm out and now if I go to a store, I always do. If I go to a restaurant, I always do. But maybe if I'm at the racetrack, I don't. But I've never laughed in the face of it and taken it for granted. Like a lot of people I have seen that just laughed and thought it was a joke and thinks it's a hoax. I've never been that. But someone decided to randomly just throw me under the bus. And so that was fun for about 30 minutes. So my nephew, so my buddy Rookie and my nephew Victor, we've all been around each other before because my nephews had to go to work while we were going to go to the racetrack. And so my buddy Rookie looks like Sid the Sloth from Ice Age. So my nephew right now through our YouTube comment section is asking my buddy Rookie, he goes, Sid the Sloth, how are you? So, that'll be fun right there to communicate that. But yeah, other than that, my day was fun. I'm off weekend, and apparently part of the reason to blame for COVID. So,
your fault. You got 600,000 deaths on your hands.
Yep, all of it's my fault. So, getting into it, kind of reviewing at Las Vegas. Now, did you get to watch the Cup race? You were at work, right?
I was at work, but when I figured out Larson was leading, you're damn right. I said I need to use the bathroom. My bladder was working that day.
So conveniently, I was supposed to meet someone about our wedding, our DJ, who I also work with, to discuss some things. Well, he wasn't feeling the best, so we ended up not meeting Sunday. And we were going to meet at 3 o'clock. He kind of picked the time. So I was going to probably miss the first stage, Well, obviously my schedule cleared. My Winthrop Eagles, they played at 12 where I graduated. Winthrop's going to be in the NCAA tournament. We'll find out where they play and who they play on Sunday. So congrats to them. But then that left me able to watch the entire race. So went in there, pretty good race. Vegas, and people kept saying this and that. Vegas has been a really good track as of late. Every time I said that to you, and you sat there and rolled your eyes. Vegas has been a good track as of late. Now, don't get me wrong; it is solely based on the package, but Vegas a lot of times has offered some fairly solid racing, even in the old packages. I mean, Vegas has always been decent. So, I thought we had fairly solid races all the way across the board. I'm trying to think right now because it's just drawing a blank. Who won the truck race?
Nemechek.
Oh, yeah, Nemechek. I didn't because I fell asleep.
Rojo Jr.
Yeah, Front Row Joe Jr. winning at KBM. Kyle Busch bringing out the caution on himself. We're not even going to – it's been talked about everywhere else, and I didn't get to see it live, so I'm not going to worry about it then. And then the Xfinity race was Allmendinger, correct?
Yeah.
So I don't think I got to see the Xfinity race. I got to see a couple minutes of it. There was a bridal shower on Saturday, so that was all that was going on that day. And then Sunday I got to watch the entire race. So top five from the race. Obviously, Kyle Larson goes to victory lane. We'll definitely hit more on that in a minute. Armany has a couple of choice words to say there. Brad Keselowski finishes second. Kyle Busch third. Denny Hamlin fourth. And Ryan Blaney, we talked about him needing a rebound weekend. We talked about Vegas being where that could happen. He comes away with his first top five of the year. Looking at your lap leaders, I'm not going to lead down all of them, but notable ones. Kyle Larson led 103 laps. Hamlin led 47. Keselowski led 27. Byron led 25, and Chase Elliott led 22. The rest of them were kind of odd in number of laps. So let's go ahead and get this over with. Before the year, I predicted that Kyle Larson was not going to win this year. This was my biggest and boldest prediction. I knew this is the one that was most likely going to be wrong, and I'm fine with it being wrong. That's why I make the prediction. Most of the time, I'm probably going to get it wrong. But Armani has to take it because he's a new Kyle Larson fan, a new reborn Larson fan. So go ahead and say what you need to say. Get it off your chest. Let it out. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
I'm just going to say this. When I was in the bathroom for those last 3 laps and Larson crossed the finish line, the first thing I thought of was, I'm going to go to Twitter and I'm going to roast the hell out of this man. I'm going to roast the hell out of him.
I surprisingly did not catch nowhere near the flack that I thought I would. And then I ended up catching flack for other stuff. We can kind of get into that for a minute because Regan Smith just completely gave the most bland post-race interview ever. Dakota Rutledge is in here. Dakota's always interacting with us on Twitter, so Dakota's in here. I thought that it feels like NASCAR has kind of been hiding Larson. Like they'll talk about him, but he really has to earn his coverage. And I'm not going to say that's right or wrong. I get why they're doing it. They're trying to ease it on in and not lose the progress they made last year. And so I kind of commented that I thought Regan Smith avoided the obvious. And, people took that as, you want Kyle Larson to apologize again? I was like, I never said apology at all because apologies at this point don't mean anything. He's already done that. But how do you not talk about how Kyle Larson was gone for 10 months, comes back and in his 4th start in a package that we said he didn't run very well in, goes out and dominates Vegas and wins the race. And they just didn't talk about it. It's like they were like, all right, we've got to ask him a question because we have to interview him. Let's interview him, ask the most bland question. Let's roll out of here. And I thought they really missed an opportunity for Larson to be a genuine human at that point, kind of show a little bit of emotion, say, man, I'm proud to be back. I didn't think I'd be back in this opportunity. I understand what happened last year. I've learned my lessons. I'm trying to be a better person on and off the track. And I'm just fortunate enough to be here. I felt like that would have closed the door. The door's theoretically it's closed. Technically it's done. But I thought that would have been a nice way for NASCAR to put it in your face. The situation's over. Here's what happened. He's back and he's winning races. And we all have to move on together. And they kind of just avoided it. And they kind of mailed in the post-race interview. It was just, the car was good. Good day. Yeah, we won. All right, cool. And so I was a little bummed out about that. But Kyle Larson, take away you trying to come back at me. How does it feel for you? Not only, if I want to throw you under the bus, Jimmy Johnson couldn't win a race to save his life the final 3 seasons. So it's been a few years since you have seen your driver win. How did it feel to be back in victory lane as a fan, and what does it mean to you to see Kyle Larson back in victory lane?
The last time one of my drivers won a race was back in 2017 when Casey Kane won the Brickyard 400. So it has been 4 years since I've seen one of my
The
drivers
tragic
win.
life of a Casey Kane fan.
Facts, indeed, truly.
So yeah, I mean, I get it. Gordon had some. Well, Gordon still knew how to win, but but Chase has been able to put me in victory lane a couple of times here as of recent, so that's always good. But talking about Larson, I mean, Larson's had an incredible start to the year. I don't think anybody's still predicting him winning this early. I think maybe 2 weeks from now, the dirt track is maybe when people had it pinpointed that maybe that would be when he gets that victory. Matt's comment about Old Man Johnson, and that's been Matt's spiel for 2 years. So Matt is always on top of that about Old Man Johnson. I think people thought maybe Larson would the dirt race maybe kind of kick things, but he has been phenomenal. If he doesn't wreck at the Daytona Road Course, there's a chance he's the I think he's like third in points right now. I want to say, I know he's top 5.
He's third.
Obviously, he's locked into the playoffs. Right now, he is technically, save this, right now, as of through 4 races, he is the lead dog at Hendrick right now. And that is something that, I mean, listen, I always say, if things change, I will change my material accordingly. If Kyle Larson truly, because Chase Elliott has lacked, it's been weird because Chase has been fast. He's led laps in almost every race this year, but they're just not getting finishes. Either damage this way, spin out this way, pit call here. I mean, it's just something happens every week and he ends up finishing top 15 instead of finishing in the top 5 where he probably should have been. But Larson's been incredible. He's been bad fast. We had great racing. I think a lot of people walked away from Vegas very satisfied. It was a pretty good race, I think. I don't know if you went back and watched the highlights, but at one point we had 3 wide. The entire top 6 was in 2 rows of 3 wide. Now, 3 wide in this package and 3 wide 10 years ago were 2 different deals, but pretty impressive. Have you had the chance to go look at any highlights?
I saw the highlights. Like I said, I saw the race sporadically, mainly the last 10-15 laps, but looked like a really damn good race. I remember even texting you hey, how's the race going?
I mean, it's just it was a fairly solid race, and I kind of expected it. People kind of want to, it's Vegas, but Vegas as of recent has been solid. Even prior to this package, Vegas provided a lot of really decent moments. Do I necessarily think Vegas needs to have 2 dates? I don't know about that, but I get it. The market that they're in, they probably make a lot of money. Gambling makes a lot of money, so I'm sure there's incentives to have it there. But yeah, that was Las Vegas. Kyle Larson gets back in victory lane. Finally has his 7th career win. Took long enough. If I got to throw a jab in there, just to throw a jab in there. And this was his first 1.5 mile win, which is pretty cool. So first 1.5 mile win in the Cup Series. So now we're going to preview the Instacart 500 at Phoenix Raceway. Obviously, we're headed back to Phoenix. Last time we were there, championship finale. Chase Elliott dominated that race. There's a lot of people that are under the impression that there's a fair shot he's going to go do the same thing again this weekend. Just looking at top 5 average finishes and this is since 2018, so this is really the last 6 starts. Kyle Busch, everybody, there's this storyline that Kevin Harvick is Mr. Phoenix. As a reason he has not been. It has been Kyle Busch. His average finish there in the last 3 seasons is 3.33, including 2 wins in 2018 and a win in 2018 and a win in 2019, back-to-back races. Kevin Harvick is second with a 4.83. Kyle Larson sits third with a 7.0, which is something dangerous to watch here because he's a guy that I've never really thought of being good at Phoenix. Stats say clearly that he's doing great things. Denny Hamlin with a 7.83. And another kind of surprise here, Eric Almirola with a 9.67 has your 5th best average finish among Cup drivers in the last 3 years. So your last 5 winners, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, and Chase Elliott. So what say you about Phoenix? Who are you watching? What stories are you watching for this weekend?
I think it's going to be – we're going to see the Gibbs cars. The Gibbs cars always seem to be pretty fast at Phoenix. I think we're going to see Hendrick, who would look like is the best team in the sport right now, pretty much minus the 500. Every race has been dominated by a Hendrick Motorsports driver. So I think we're going to see Hendrick up there. We're going to see Gibbs up there. Penske may or may not lag behind. They always seem to be very hit or miss when it comes to Phoenix. So I think, again, it's going to be – last week I said it's going to be Hendrick versus Penske. This week I think it's going to be Hendrick versus Gibbs.
I think it could be a triple threat match. I mean, Penske usually runs well here. Really weird to see how bad Logano ran at Vegas, which was very shocking. But Keselowski was fast, Blaney was fast, Benedetto ran fast at certain moments. So, I mean, I think there could be a triple threat between the big three organizations, as you could say. Stewart Haas is someone I think you've really got to watch Kevin Harvick this week because they looked terrible at Las Vegas. Harvick has not looked like himself, which is weird because I thought they unloaded at Daytona with probably the best speed I've ever seen them have at Daytona. Road course, he struggled. And then it seems like every week Harvick has just not been Harvick. And it's going to be intriguing to watch because this is another place. Now, Atlanta really will be a marker for when Kevin Harvick can be. Is Kevin Harvick going to be Kevin Harvick or not when we get to Atlanta? I believe Atlanta's next weekend, I want to say. So I think that's a guy you got to watch is what does Stewart Haas do because they have ran terrible to start off the year to a certain extent. So I'm intrigued to see what they do there. And then was Phoenix not also where Tyler Reddick had a really good early run last year?
Yep. And then he blew a tire.
Yeah, then he blew a tire. So that could be fun to watch. Michael McDowell finally kind of sort of came down to earth. So can they rebound? It'll be intriguing to see what happens there. I think Bubba Wallace right now, week in and week out, is still a story because that team has had a terrible start to where everybody assumed they were going to be, which was the most hyped up team there has been in a good while. So we'll see how that goes. So I think there's a handful of guys to watch there. So with that said, who is your Phoenix Instacart 500 race winning pick? And are you off Sunday? Will you be able to watch the race?
No, but I'm probably going to do what I do now, which is like just my blood is going to be working that day.
I got what you're saying. So go ahead. Who is your race winner?
My race winner is the lead dog at Hendrick. Kyle Larson goes back to back.
I got you. I would tend to agree. My race winner is the lead dog at Hendrick. And that is the champion. Finally got this hat in, by the way. A hat that I probably will not wear that much in public. I don't really like this hat.
Part of like your $400 championship haul.
It's part of it that finally came in. My Lionel diecast, it'll be here, in 2024. Whenever it gets here. But
hey, it's 20 forever.
Chase Elliott. The reason I say this is the reason I'm kind of convinced with this is Brett Griffin on Door Bumper Clear. He's been calling Chase Elliott to win this race for 3 weeks. He firmly believes Chase Elliott could have lapped the field last year with how dominant they were at Phoenix. He goes, we have no practice, no testing. Why would you not be able to sit there and expect similar results when you come back? So I'm going to put it on the table. I think this is the first time. No, I picked Chase at Daytona. I'm fairly certain for the road course. Obviously, that went wrong. I try not to pick Chase a ton. I typically don't pick Chase a ton. Road courses, you kind of have that feeling that you want to take them. But I'm going to go with them at Phoenix for how dominant they were in the fall. The weather is sort of similar, I would assume. Obviously, with November, things start cooling down. Right now, things are starting to heat back up. So I would assume the weather's sort of similar there. So I'm going to go with Chase Elliott. You've got Kyle Larson. So let's just at this point hope one of the Hendrick cars can get it done, or we're going to really look really goofy. And Matt's in the same boat with his Lionel diecast because, it takes a year to come up with a championship die. By the time I get mine, I can almost pre-order Chase Elliott's 2021 championship diecast.
I don't know the way they've been finishing.
Yeah, he's not going to win the championship. He's not my championship prediction, but had to make that out there. So
he's
now
the lead dog of his team.
So now as we get through here, let's get to the main topic of the night, something a little bit different. We really wanted to kind of consider who is, we wanted to talk about something a little bit different because there haven't been major news besides obviously just the regular races that have been going on. And so I came up with the idea of let's talk about drivers that we miss being in the Cup Series. But we wanted to make it fun. We didn't want to make it obvious. It's easy to come up with the top. Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Jr., Tony Stewart. I mean, that's over in 5 seconds, and you've already listed it. So our goal was to come up with guys that are not just obvious guys, not guys that you hear of every single day in NASCAR. You don't hear from a ton. But Matt is, hold up, before we get going, Matt is excited. It's Chase Elliott's throwback from last year finally shipped, which is a badass car. I may get it one day. But anyways, so I want to go through this list. I want us to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Me and Armani did not coexist on this list. We have two complete separate lists because obviously we're coming up with our own drivers that we miss for our own racing. But knowing me and him, we'll have 1 or 2 that end up matching. The entire list will end up matching miraculously. So, Armani, you kick us off, starting with number 5, drivers that you miss in the Cup Series.
Number 5, just a disclaimer, This is the hardest list I've ever had to make. And it made me realize, besides really number one and like number two, I really don't care about any other of these drivers. I'm gonna be 100% on. So I kind of had to be like, okay, who do I have more? Okay, who do I respect more in terms of miss? So that's more on my list. So
Okay.
number 5, I got Marcos Ambrose.
Nice.
Now the reason I got Marcos Ambrose, again, never really cheered for Ambrose, when he was in the 9 car, when he was in NASCAR. It's just, as I gotten older, as my motorsports mind has just expanded, I've grown to respect more drivers, diversify their skills. So that's like the main reason why Marcos Ambrose is on this list, supercar champion, comes over to NASCAR, has decent success. I mean, he gets a couple Cup Xfinity wins. So,
And a great personality.
yeah, great personality also. So, I mean, that tango he had with Robert Gordon was hilarious back in Montreal.
No, I'm thinking of when he punched Casey Mears.
Wait, what was that?
Remember he decked Casey Mears. I think it was it Marco? I think it was Marcos. I swear it was. I think somebody just punched Casey Mears a couple of years ago.
I thought that was Shane Meal.
No, Shane Mill was years ago. Remember, Shane Mill had his accident and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Shane Mill was back in the day. Shane Mill pissed. Listen, Dale Jarrett is a very mild-tempered person. Dale Jarrett was so pissed off at Shane Mill, he walked to his car and gave him the bird. All right, that is not a Dale Jarrett thing to do. But I like the pick. I like Marcos at 5 right there. My number 5, and this is how I always tell people: if you want me to prove that I watch NASCAR, here you go. My number 5, the Neon Knight, Paul Menard. All right. I was a Paul Menard fan for years. The only things that I can explain it is I loved neon yellow. I looked at the car, and then there was a couple of years where I was dedicated to Paul Menard. I'll never forget him winning the Brickyard in 2011. My heart was pounding out my chest. Fuel mileage race. Jeff Gordon's coming and about to get him on fresh tires. Fuel, no concern of fuel. I remember Menard having to get around McMurray, and Slugger Labby said it's go time. He gets from McMurray. He goes. And I'm talking about another 2 or 3 laps. Menard loses that race to Gordon. There was a lap car that held up Gordon just enough for Paul to squeak away and get his one and only Cup Series win, which is the one Cup race he ever wanted to win. Paul Menard, I said this, Paul Menard may be the only driver that won every single race he ever wanted to win. In the Xfinity Series, he won at Milwaukee. He won at Road America in Wisconsin. I think Road America, it's in Wisconsin. He wins at Michigan, another place up north. He wins the Brickyard 400 when his dad could never win at the Brickyard. He did. He won at every single place that he ever wanted to win, which is crazy to think about. So, number 5 on my list, Paul Menard. Going to number 4.
I'm surprised he's as low as number 5. I thought he'd be like top 3, top 2 for you.
At the end of the day, Paul Menard was Paul Menard. So, let's be realistic, all right?
Number 4, I got actually a driver you just mentioned, Jamie McMurray, current Fox Sports analysis guy. McMurray, I feel like he never got the respect he deserved. He was never going to be the most flashiest driver. He's never going to be a championship contender. But he's always a solid driver. He always got decent results. He always nabbed that odd winner there. And when McMurray ran well, you just felt good. It's like McMurray was ever a driver you can really just hate. It's like he did his part, and I don't know. I kind of miss. I mean, granted, Ganassi is doing better without McMurray, obviously, ever since Kurt Busch got in that car. But, every time McMurray comes back for these 1-off-500, it always feels a little bit better.
I think McMurray's like a cheap man version of Ryan Newman, but he won just as many big races as Newman did. I mean, there was one year he won the Brickyard and the 500 together. I mean, McMurray was a good, solid little driver. He was just never a championship guy. That's how I feel. I mean, I've always felt that way about him. He just wasn't a championship guy. He was, again, sort of comparable to like a Greg Biffle. He could win some races. He was just not really good. Even though Biffle, you could argue, was a championship guy for a moment. But McMurray, I like McMurray. I feel like McMurray's one of those guys, the further he separates himself from driving, you kind of forget that he was a pretty solid race car driver. And he did a pretty good job for Ganassi for a lot of years. My number 4, now I didn't get to watch this guy a ton. So this is one of those where this is probably my biggest stretch on this list because I just didn't get to experience him a ton. But Sterling Marlin, I wish, part of me almost put Ward Burton because we need one of those voices, just his voice. We need a guy like that in the garage. Sterling Marlin was a badass, a good race car driver, really old school race car driver. wanted to race, was ready to get down and dirty if he needed to. Very solid race car driver, and just a really, really great veteran in the series. So obviously, I think everybody misses the iconic silver bullet. Sterling Marlin was the one that made it famous. So Sterling Marlin, my number 4. Going to number 3.
Why you keep mentioning my drivers? My number 3 is Ward Burton.
Ward.
I didn't get to watch a ton of Ward Burton because, by the time I started watching NASCAR, from where I can remember.
Ward Burton.
Ward Burton. But when I was a kid, I always ran with that Caterpillar diecast.
He won a Daytona 500. It's so random because you forget that he won it, but he won a Daytona 500.
500 champion. I have his 124 scale and his 164 scale Caterpillar car. That's one of my favorite paint schemes of all time. So, again, just Ward Burton's one of those. There really is no explanation. It's mainly just for, I never really got to watch him, but just from things I can remember in my childhood, always having that 164 scale diecast, always driving around, my rug floor. So Ward Burton's my number 3.
Again, just his voice, dude. I love hearing Ward just talk. That we need more voices like Ward in the sport. My number 3, Juan Pablo Montoya. Juan Montoya, obviously, road course wise, it would be really cool to see what he could do. But I think, man, I could argue for Juan Montoya's respect till my face turns blue. I'm so tired of hearing about the jet dryer incident and this. Juan Montoya, me and you talked about it. And we really tried to sit down for a minute. I don't think this was on air. Maybe it was. I don't remember. We were like, who could you make a legit argument for the greatest just overall race car driver ever? And we still you got to probably throw a guy like Foyt or Mario Andretti up there. But Juan Montoya is definitely towards the top of that list. I mean, wins in NASCAR, wins in Formula One, wins in IndyCar, and not only just wins in Formula One, wins Monaco. Not only wins in IndyCar, wins 2 Indy 500s. I don't think he ever won a championship in either one. I don't know if he has any championships outside of IMSA.
He has a kart championship, I believe, back in 2000.
Okay, and he's just so accomplished. And before we go, Matt's got his top 5. He's got Jeff Gordon. The guys we say don't pick: Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards, Jamie Mack, and Mark Martin. All great picks. Obviously, Gordon would be my number 1 if we were going with anybody on this list. But Juan is just such a talented guy. You could always argue, was Ganassi always the greatest? Like we talked about with Larson. I mean, it's always been B- sort of equipment. But I think Montoya, we got a pretty good reputation. I think it was 2009. He made the chase and had a fairly solid season. Probably should have won a couple of races that year. But yeah, I mean, wins at Monaco, wins the Indianapolis 500 multiple times. He was just a really good representation that brought international attention to NASCAR. So I miss Juan Pablo. I know you got a lot of respect for Juan. It'd be really cool to see him back. But rolling on, unless you want to comment on Juan, who's your number 2?
You took the words right out of my mouth because Juan's my number 2.
Here he goes! Juan Pueblo Montoya.
I'll put a little 2 cents. I'll make it short and sweet again. I just respect the hell out of talent, and Juan Pablo Montoya, for me, he's a top 5 race car, just overall race car driver. He's top 5 all time. He's up there with the Andretti's, with the with the Foyts. Everyone talks about Fernando Alonso. Only 1 race away from winning the Triple Crown. Montoya's only 1 race away too. He just needs to win Le Mans. Toyota, get him in a hypercar, and then boom, he's got the Triple Crown.
Yeah,
Alonso can't even qualify for the 500. Just let Montoya get in the Toyota.
We got Harry Loomis, which I've interacted with him on Twitter a couple times. He says Kenseth, Burton, Edwards, Biffle, and Martin. So a little bit of a Roush flair there on Harry's list. But yeah, I mean, Juan is just so good, and I'm so tired of hearing about the jet dryer. His career is so much we're so fortunate he even came to NASCAR. He used a lot of prime years to come to NASCAR, and he didn't just dabble in it. He committed to NASCAR for, I think he ran Cup for 6-7 years. I mean, he ran for a decent chunk of time. Number 2 on my list is Marcus Ambrose. Marcus Ambrose, you talked about him start off the list. I would love to see, with the road course schedule we now have, could he have had a few more wins? You would naturally think he would have. Marcus, Marcus, natural road course talent, and at times was fairly decent on ovals. Marcus was a very solid race car driver, great personality. I'm not going to spend too much time because we talked about him a minute ago. But Marcus was just an all-around good guy. And, you don't hear nothing from him anymore. I don't even know if that dude's still alive. But you don't hear nothing from him. And how badass would it be for him to, I'm surprised he hasn't come back for, a one-off. Come run COTA or something like that. I'm just shocked that hasn't happened. We need to get that man in a road course car at some point this year. But my number 2, Marcus Ambrose. So now here we are. Number 1. Who is your number 1 top driver that you miss in the Cup Series?
Let me just rattle off my top 5 really quick. Number 5, Marcus Ambrose. Number 4, Jamie McMurray. Number 3, Ward Burton. Number 2, Juan Pablo Montoya. Number 1, the number 4 out of what I'd like to call my holy 4 in terms of drivers in my childhood, Kasey Kahne.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's exactly what we need. Another guy putting around on Sundays.
I don't know what it was. Kasey Kahne, like I said, my guys when I was growing up in order were Dale Jr., Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, and Kasey Kahne.
Let me pick 4 of the best drivers in the field. Hell, one of them's going to win.
Pretty much. I mean, my mom was an Earnhardt. My mom was an Earnhardt gal, so obviously I was going to go with Earnhardt. I love the rainbow. I love the flames on Jeff Gordon. Jimmy Johnson, I mean, his color combinations are always my favorite. And I don't know what it was about Kasey Kahne. My mom was like, "You see this driver? I like him." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to like him."
Your mom probably thought he was pretty, all right? And Kasey, listen, I have some badass memories with Kasey Kahne. I mean, I remember that was part of my prime of learning NASCAR. Him finishing second to Matt Kenseth, Elliott Sadler, and to literally everybody his rookie season. Should have won a race at Dover, and I don't know if he hit oil or what. The car completely lost it. Mark Martin goes on to win at Dover. I remember those memories. I remember I fell asleep. I liked Kasey Kahne his first couple of years. I fell asleep the night that he finally got his first win because I remember waking up and thinking, man, Kasey finally got his first win at Richmond, 2005. And then he just fell off a cliff. He was a badass in that 9 car. I got to witness him in person, be the first driver to get the fan vote to win the All-Star race. Just really cool memories with Kasey Kahne. Gets in the 5 car his first year. He ran really, really well. And I think everybody, including myself, really thought he was going to just win a championship. It's over with. And he fell off a cliff. But Kasey was a good driver. He's had a top echelon career compared to what majority of drivers reach in this sport. So I cannot fault you there with Kasey Kahne. A lot of people still really love Kasey Kahne. I was very hard on Kasey Kahne his last couple of years just from the hype that he got. But Kasey, I get it. I get the argument. Going off of my top 5 to give my number 1. Number 5, Paul Menard. Number 4, Sterling Marlin. Number 3, Juan Pablo Montoya. Number 2, Marcus Ambrose. And number 1, Gordon. Robbie Gordon.
Oh, my God.
Robbie Gordon is a certified badass, all right? Robbie Gordon would wreck your grandmother, my grandmother, and his grandmother to win a Cup race. I will never forget, my brother was a big Robbie Gordon fan. I wasn't ever I didn't have his die-cast shirts, but I always liked to see Robbie run well. And, Montreal was one of my favorite races ever growing up. When him and Ambrose got into it. By the way, Robbie Gordon won that race. When those two tangled and wrecked each other and did this and did that, and then he just didn't listen to the black flag, did a double burnout with Kevin Harvick. Robbie Gordon won that race, first of all. And just the way he did it, he went out on his own and was really an owner driver. And, I don't remember a ton of it. I know he never ran crazy well, but he had moments where he ran well. Early in his Robbie Gordon Motorsports or racing, whatever it was called, they ran fairly decent with Harris Cherokee Casino, Jim Beam. They had some very solid runs for what he was, a single car owner operator. But I just miss his personality, the pure racer in him. We see him run trophy trucks, which is trophy trucks. Everything, Hummers and shit. He just runs everything. His son, Max Gordon, is going to be a prodigy on off-road racing. Robbie's just cool. IndyCar, he was big in. I just miss Robbie. I miss those kind of personalities, man. He was rough. He was rugged. He was the epitome of early to mid-2000s NASCAR. I believe I actually got to see him win a race on TV in 2003 at Sonoma with that weird flame singular wireless car. I used to love the singular wireless paint schemes and cars and stuff. So Robbie Gordon, my number one. I'll take Robbie over Casey Kane right now.
Man, get out of here. At least Casey Kane won.
Robbie's got 3 Cup wins.
Yeah, you know how many Casey Kane had? He has 6 times the amount.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Robbie will beat him in a fight. That's all that matters.
Casey Kane's one of those drivers where you just think of him and he's like, how the hell does he have 18 wins?
I mean, dude, he won 8 races in 1 year in 2008.
I know, but it's like just
2006.
I know, but it's like thinking about it because it's like you look at his overall stats.
He almost made that white and red car iconic.
He did.
Like, that car used to be badass. When you went to a 1.5-mile race, you knew who you were watching. Dude, his qualifying runs would be epic.
He has like 30-some, 20 or 30-some poles.
Oh, yeah. He used to run it. He was like Ryan Newman Jr. for a while. And now has as many Cup wins. But yeah.
Shorter period of time.
Oh, Casey Kane. Oh, Casey Pretty Boy Kane. But anyways, but yeah, there you go. You have our list. We went through Vegas, went through Phoenix, what to expect, and obviously have our top 5 drivers that we missed. Hopefully something crazy happens this weekend that we'll be able to do like a non-rundown topic next week, but it just really depends what happens. Maybe somebody will bust somebody's nose and we'll have something to talk about and that. But worst case, we love doing these. We love ranking things and coming up with our own thing. Obviously, we both had Ambrose and Montoya on our list. I told you we would not talk about this, and we would somehow have similar lists.
And this man mentioned pretty much all my picks.
I love the complete opposite. Number one, Gier guy was a NASCAR guy. At one point, he was considered one of the best in the garage. Robbie Gordon was always the black sheep of the NASCAR garage, won a couple of races, just certified badass. And, yeah, I mean, Robbie's up there too. I love Robbie. I miss his personality the most. So, with that being said, unless you've got anything else to add, we are out of here for the week. Make sure you follow us at WR Media Group for World Racing Media. Follow him at Motor Minister. Follow me at NASCAR_opinion. If you weren't with us at the beginning of the show, just so you know, the math on his name is purposefully wrong. We know it's 24 plus 40, which funny is everybody, I'm talking to you, you haven't even noticed that. 24 plus 48 equals 72, but one night me and Armany were about to argue with each other that it is 74.
We were ready to throw hands.
We were ready to be mad at each other even though we agreed that it was 74. So with that being said, hope everybody has a great weekend. I'm traveling to Fayetteville tomorrow to watch the sprint car racing back-to-back nights with the Carolina Sprint Tour. So check us out on social media, the Carolina Sprint Tour. I do a little bit of social media work with them. We're really going to be able to ramp things up once I actually get content of race cars this weekend. So, but yeah, we're going to have some fun, and hope everybody enjoys Phoenix. Hopefully old Chase Elliott goes to victory lane, picks up where he left off. And obviously Armani has Kyle Larson, so we will see. We will see who the lead dog Ed Hendrick is this weekend. But unless you got something to add, we're rolling.
We know it ain't Bowman.
We do know it ain't Bowman. Facts.